want to give you guys 20 minutes on my journey as an entrepreneur. It was very non-traditional, but I think there'll be some nuggets that you guys hopefully can apply to your business journey. And then 20 minutes on my life living with a Navy SEAL who's coined the toughest man on the planet for a reason. And I'll tell you all the nuggets that I got from my experience with him and how I apply them to all the different areas of my life. About me. So I went to American University in Washington, D.C. Anybody? There never is. I didn't recognize any of you guys. The tuition at American University is $40,000 a year today. So for $160,000 of my parents' hard-earned dollars, for $160,000 of tuition, I remember one lesson. It's the $160,000 lesson. So my senior year, I was at a crossroads in my life. I was either going to go into the music business or I was going to sell a product called Aunt Franny's Brownies. So I had a roommate in college who had an Aunt Franny, and every month she sent us a big container of brownies. Man, I don't know what she put in these brownies, but they made me super happy. I'm like, I always thought my roommate was a little out there with his aunt. They made me happy. I'm like, I can market these brownies. So for my senior year in this advertising class, the professor said for our final exam, we had to create a fictitious brand from scratch. Mission statement, slogan, packaging, ad campaign, jingle, the whole shebang. So I was like, all right, I'll use this as my R&D department. My professor will be a one-man R&D department. And if he likes my presentation of Aunt Franny's Brownies, I'm going in the brownie business. So for the final exam, everybody had to put together this campaign and hand it in. But 5 students out of a class of 100 were going to get picked to also do an oral presentation in front of the class on their campaign. And that included a 30-minute State of the Union of the industry you were going in. So I'm like, all right, there's a 5% chance. I'm a senior. There's no way I'm going to get picked. There's no way that anyone, no one's going to prepare for this. So no one wanted to get picked. No one was prepared for the oral presentation. So we walk into the classroom and the professor says, okay, we're going to do this the democratic way. Everybody write your name down on a piece of paper. We'll put it in a hat, and I'll pick out the 5 people that are going to present today for the class. Sitting next to me, to my right, in the classroom, was a guy named Ronnie C., we'll call him. Ronnie C. was a professional jackass. Ronnie C. bullied kids for 4 years of college. So I took 20 pieces of paper. I wrote Ronnie's name in a piece of paper. I stuffed all 20 into the hat. Asshole. Put him in. Professor takes the hat, picks out the first name, opens it up, and sure enough, the first name, true story that comes up, Jesse Itzler. The jackass did the same thing. I swear to you. So I get up there, unprepared. I start giving my pitch on Aunt Franny's Brownies, and 30 seconds into my pitch, for $160,000 of my parents' hard-earned money, the professor says, stop. Stop. Southern guy, I forgot his name. He's like, son, I want to know, what is your point of differentiation? I said, well, I'm a brownie. I could be gluten-free if you want me to be gluten-free. I'm moist. I'm delicious. I'm home-baked. I make you happy. I have colorful packaging. He said, no. Son, there's 1,000 brownies out there. Substitute it for lawyer, real estate agent, person, investor, advertiser, restaurateur. If you want to be a brownie in this world, you better be a much different brownie than everybody else. Sit down. So I sat down in my chair, embarrassed in front of the whole class, and I immediately said to myself, I'm going into music. I'm already a brownie. It's just me and Vanilla Ice. I'm a white rapper. Do with the brownie business. So at that point in my life, I'd never been in a recording studio. I can't play an instrument. I had 0 connections. I'm not a great singer. The only way that I can make a demo tape, this is 1989, at this point, was to take a CD, put it in my CD player, go to my answering machine. You guys remember that we actually had answering machines at one point in our lives. At least I did. Go to my answering machine while the instrumental is playing off the CD and hit record on my answering machine, and that is how I made my demo. And I took that cassette and I sent it to every music executive on the planet. Warner Brothers Records, Atlantic Records, Elektra Records, Motown, Select, all of them. And I got no responses. So I went every weekend to New York City on Friday after my last class. I drove up, and I would literally show up at the record companies just without knowing anyone. I would sit in the lobby, and if I saw anyone that looked like they could be an A&R person, I would hand them my cassette, and that didn't work, obviously. And then one day I got a call from a friend of a friend who listened to my answering machine tape, heard this little rap, and said, listen, I think there's something here, but we have to professionalize this. I got a job in New York City working at a studio with Salt and Pepper, and at 2 o'clock in the morning, the last session is done, and the next session doesn't start until 7 in the morning. So if you can come in between 2 a.m. and 7 a.m., you can get the studio time, and we'll build a real demo. So I moved to New York, and I took a job as a kiddie pool attendant, because that was the only job where I could ride my bike 20 miles from Long Island, New York, where I live, to Corona, Queens, to the studio, and ride my bike back in time to get to work at 10 o'clock in the morning. So one day I'm riding my bike, 1 o'clock in the morning on the Long Island Expressway, which is insane. I get into Corona, Queens, I get to the studio, I go in, and sitting on the mix board is a cassette. And it's the cassette that completely changed my life. So the cassette was by a rapper named Dana Dane. Doesn't matter if you know who he is. He was a rap pioneer. He was one of my favorite artists. This was an advanced cassette of Dana's second album. So his first album was a big hit, but no one heard his second album. He must have left it here at the session before me. So I asked the engineer if I could borrow the cassette to listen to it as a fan. I'll bring it back next session. He says, sure. So I take the cassette with me on a trip to LA the next day, and I'm listening to it on my Sony Walkman on the plane. And as I'm listening to it, I'm reading, literally, in a magazine that the owner of Delicious Vinyl Records, with Tone Loc and Young MC, this amazing record label, his favorite artist in the world is Dana Dane. So when we land, I cold call the record company. That's a theme in my life. If I find someone that's inspiring or motivating, or if I have to get through the door, I'm always just cold calling people right away. So I cold call Delicious Vinyl, especially after all that rejection. And I get all the way to the owner's assistant. And I said, I have a tape of Dana Dane. I know that Mike is a big fan of Dana's. And there's a famous quote by Harry Truman: if you can't convince them, confuse them. She had no idea what I was talking about. She puts me on hold. She comes back a minute later and she goes, Dana, if you can be here at 2 o'clock today, Mike would love to meet you. Now, Dana is an African-American guy from Brooklyn with gold teeth. Dana will be there at 2 o'clock. So I buzz in at 2 o'clock. I said, hey, it's Dana here for Mike. Oh, Dana, Mike is expecting you. Come on in. I walk into Mike's office, gold record, Loc's record, Young's record. I sit down in his desk, and I'm waiting for him to come in. I have no idea what I'm going to say when he comes in the door, and he walks right in. He looks at me, and I'm going to curse a couple of times today. Is that okay with everybody? All right. Because he said, who the f*** are you? You're not Dana. I said, no, I work with Dana. He said, you work with Dana? What do you do? I said, well, I rap. And he started laughing, and then he thought he was being punked, like Ashton Kutcher was going to come in, like he's looking around like with this. I said, no, I really do. Can I put my demo in? He said, all right, well, put your demo in while we wait for Dana. So I put my demo in. Dana will be here in probably 15 days, you know. It's a long wait. We can listen to my demo. I put my demo in, and 30 seconds in, he says, stop. And he says the 4 words that every struggling artist wants to hear. Who is your attorney? I got a record deal. So that was amazing, except I didn't have an attorney. I had a dad. So I told him my dad was my attorney. He said, your dad's an attorney? I said, yeah, my dad owned a plumbing supply house, by the way. So I said, yeah, just send everything to my father. So we leave, and I call my dad. I go, Dad, I got a deal. I got a deal, man. I got a deal. I said, they're going to call you and send you the information. Don't screw it up, because my father's from Brooklyn, and he could immediately be like, oh, I know you guys in the record business. You're going to take advantage of yourself with this deal. I said, all I want you to do, when they call, the only thing I want you to say is, please fax all the documents to my assistant. My father said, I don't have an assistant. I said, yes, you do. Mom is your assistant. So they faxed all the documents to my mother, and I got a record deal. And then I made a big mistake. Instead of rewriting my goals, that was my only goal. There was no B plan. I wanted a record deal, laser focused on that. Once I got the deal, I didn't reset my goals. I didn't say to myself, now I want to sell 5 million records, put $3 million in the bank, and retire. No, I didn't do anything. I celebrated, took my foot off the gas pedal, and I didn't get picked up for a second album. So I moved back to New York with 2 things on my resume: kiddie pool attendant, rapper. That's not going to get you a job on Wall Street. But I love music and I love sports, so I decided to follow my passion, and I wrote a theme song for the Knicks called Go New York Go. I don't know if anyone's from New York here. You guys know that song, Go New York Go? Yeah? Okay, of course. I like that. Of course, I like that. Give them a raise. So I wrote the song called Go New York Go. It was a theme song for the Knicks. The Knicks paid me $4,000 for the song. By the time I paid my lawyer, which I now had, a singer, the drummer, the studio, the engineer, and everybody else involved in the song, it cost me $4,800. That's not a good business model. But what happened was, the song became the #1 most requested song on New York radio, and every team that came into Madison Square Garden said, wow, why don't we have a song like that? And I said, man, that's my brownie. That's my brownie. Nobody else is doing this. Everybody else is trying to get into Tower Records and get out there with the thousands and thousands of other artists on the shelf. I'm going to do sports music. I'm different. So I started writing theme songs for professional sports teams, and I sold that company to a company called SFX in 1998. The owner of SFX had a timeshare on a private jet. And he invited my partner in this business and I, on a trip on his private jet. And it was like the scene in The Wizard of Oz when we got on the plane, where everything goes from black and white to color. I'm like, people fly like this? I want to fly like this. This is amazing. And by the time we landed, we're like, let's start a private jet company so we can fly like this. My partner's like, great idea. The problem was we had no airplanes. Hard to start a private jet company without any airplanes. So we went to NetJets, owned by Warren Buffett, the 800-pound gorilla in the space. They own 750 private jet planes, owned by Warren Buffett. And we took a meeting with Rich Santulli and pitched our idea for the Marquee Jet Card, which was a 25-hour jet card that you prepay. You put down maybe $100,000, $200,000, and it's like having all the benefits of your own airplane. A plane will pick you up on 10-hour notice anywhere in the country, and it works like a debit card. If you fly from New York to Atlanta and it's a 2-hour flight, you have 23 hours of flight time left. Thought it was a great idea. So he pitched this idea to Rich Santulli, the CEO, and the meeting lasts 12 minutes. 12 minutes. 12 minutes in, this is a direct quote. He says, stop it. If you think I'm giving 2 kids who probably didn't break 1,000 on their SATs, which pissed me off. I did break 1,000 on my SATs. At least I convinced myself that I broke it. I think I got like a 980. Convinced myself that I broke it. It's not happening. The meeting's over. So they escort us out of the building, and the president of the company comes running up. He goes, guys, that was unbelievable. Unbelievable. We got thrown out of the meeting in 12 minutes. He said, Rich Santulli doesn't give anybody 12 minutes. He said, come back next week and repitch this. There's something here. So we knew we could never sell this concept through a PowerPoint presentation, because Rich Santulli sees PowerPoints all day long. We had to be a brownie. So we brought in our own focus group. We set up a big conference room table in their boardroom, and one by one, we brought in a professional athlete, a rapper, a lawyer, a Wall Street mogul, and one by one, they stood up and said they would never buy a timeshare in NetJets, what NetJets was selling, but they put $100,000 into a 25-hour jet card, and we got the deal. A year later, we were bigger than NetJets. We did $5 billion in sales, and we sold the company to Warren Buffett. During my journey at Marquee Jet, I decided I wanted to raise money for charity. So rather than have a golf outing, which everybody was doing, I decided I was going to run 100 miles, like Chris is going to do tomorrow, successfully, in 24 hours. And during the process of training, I did a lot of research around hydration and nutrition. If you're going to run for 100 miles, 24 hours nonstop, what do you eat? How many calories do you have to take in? What do you drink? And I discovered coconut water. And I was like the human guinea pig for coconut water. And I ran the whole race. I finished it in 22 hours and 30 minutes. Put me in a wheelchair for 4 days, which is true, but I finished it. And I was like, man, this coconut water stuff is the fountain of youth. I didn't cramp. I finished it. Like, when people discover what I just discovered, this is going to be the next big thing in beverage. So I spent a year traveling the world trying to figure out how to import coconut water. I went to Brazil, Jamaica, all over the world, and I realized that, like, maybe I didn't break 1,000 on the SATs because I can't figure this out. This is not what I'm good at. I'm a marketing and sales guy, but I can't figure out how to import this. The learning curve was too big. So I partnered with a company called Zico, Z-I-C-O, that was $3 million in sales at the time. And 2 years later, we sold that company to Coca-Cola. My wife, as Kent mentioned earlier, is the founder of a company called Spanx. Most recently, we became partners in the ownership group of the Atlanta Hawks. And my business career went full circle about, I'd say 6 or 7 months ago when I was at a dinner party. This is a great exercise for you guys to do. And the host of the party asked everybody in the room to go around and name 3 people that were living that they would want to have dinner with. And we got all the obvious answers: Oprah, Clinton, dignitaries, Gates, all the ones that you would think. But when it came to me, true story, when it came to me, all 3 of mine truly were rappers. And the reason why was because these 3 guys on my list changed the trajectory of my life as a teenager in Long Island growing up, and I wanted to meet them. I wanted to know what influenced them to write their songs. I wanted to tell them that they had a big impact on my life, and my life is ending up on the right track. I wanted to thank them. So after the dinner, I left, and I invited the 10 most influential artists in my life to my house for dinner. And they all came. And people ask me all the time, like, well, how did you do that? Did you know them? No, I didn't know them. Well, how did you get them to come? And I'm like, I called them. That's how you get things done in this world. You pick up the phone and you call people. You don't sit at a conference, at a seminar, and set up a booth and hope that the buyer shows up. You find the person and you become the person that they have to go to. That's what it's all about. So what I realized after the dinner is that their journey as musicians was very different than my journey, was very similar, as to my journey as an entrepreneur. For one, none of these guys had any experience in the music business. And when I look back at my run as an entrepreneur, I had no experience in aviation or beverage or music. And for a lot of people, that could be a big deterrent. It's like, okay, I'm going to go this way in the real estate business, but I have no experience here. I want to open a restaurant. That's my lifetime dream, but I don't know about the restaurant business. Or I want to start a clothing company, but I have no connections in apparel. So a lot of dreams get crushed because the fear of not having experience. But for me, that was the biggest blessing in my life, because it guaranteed that every lane that I went into, I'd be a brownie. That I'd be forced to do things differently because no one told me how to do it. So I always say to my employees, and my wife says to her employees, if no one taught you how to do your job, how would you do it? If you didn't read the manual on how to do it, how would you do it? And it's amazing the innovation and the ideas that come from just that very simple exercise. The second thing is that these rappers were so young that they had no time to be scared. They were so young that they didn't care about being embarrassed. And once you get over the fear of being embarrassed, you can pick up the phone and call people to ask them to do stuff because you don't care about the outcome. It's incredibly liberating. Now, I don't like to be embarrassed at all, but I'm not scared of it. But it wasn't always like that for me. So when I was in college my senior year, I liked this girl. In fact, I was dating this girl for 6 months in my head. She didn't even know I existed. She had no idea I was in the class. I was in a full-blown relationship with her my senior year that she didn't know about. So she would walk into the classroom, and I'd think to myself, that was an amazing movie that we went to last night. And I can't believe you were picky about the menu. Anyway, I decided that I wanted to ask her to go to my senior formal with me, but I was so scared that she was going to say no. I was so scared of the rejection that I had my roommate call her up as me to ask her to the formal. And she came, which is another crazy story. She actually said yes to him thinking it was me. Fast forward 20 years. Fast forward 20 years. I like this girl. She's the founder of Spanx. We're loosely friends. And I'm about to run this 100-mile race. I'm trying to get her attention. So I call the her assistant up. I said, Lisa, this is Jesse. I'm running this 100-mile race, and if I could get a testimonial or a donation for Sarah, I will run the entire 100 miles in Spanx, which are pantyhose, by the way. Now, obviously, I didn't want a testimonial or donation. I wanted to get to Sarah. So Lisa puts me on hold, and she says, Sarah, some lunatic is on the phone saying he's going to run 100 miles in Spanx for a donation or a testimonial. She says, I think I know that lunatic. And a year later, she married the lunatic. So what happened from this little kid, this little scared little lamb in college that couldn't even pick up a phone, he couldn't even hide behind a phone to call a girl he liked, to the guy who's like, I don't give a fuck. I'm calling and I'm on the prowl. Well, in between those two extremes was a lot of self-doubt. Self-doubt is the single greatest enemy to success. So if we could beat the shit out of self-doubt, all of our doubt, all of our risk-taking, we'd all be better entrepreneurs, business people, and have a much fuller life. So how do we do that? Well, that's what I want to talk to you guys about today. So about 6 or 7 years ago, I'm at this race in San Diego. Here's the format of the race. It's a 24-hour race, and it's a relay race. I'm there with 5 friends. You run a mile, you run a mile, you run a mile, I run a mile. Whoever runs the most amount of miles as a team in 24 hours wins the race. To my left is a guy who has nobody to relay with. He is his own relay team. And he's about 285 pounds, black guy in a predominantly white running race. And he's looking really angry. He's really big. And I'm thinking to myself, man, how is a guy that's 285 pounds going to run for 24 hours straight? And the race was self-supported, which means that they provide nothing. It's on a dirt, unlit, 1-mile loop in a parking lot. And they don't even provide water. So you have to bring all your own supplies. Well, I just sold Marquis Jet, so I overdid my supplies. I had a Whole Foods truck come up. I had 2 masseuses, put tables. I'm like, put your table over here. You put you over to get the oil ready. I did. I had my own little band, my own little rally section. Oh, but by the way, this guy had 3 items. He had a fold-up chair, 1 bottle of water, and a box of crackers. That's it for 24 hours, and his 285 pounds. So sure enough, at mile 70, he comes back, and because of his weight, he crushed every single small bone in both of his feet. He broke them all. He broke every metatarsal in both of his feet. And because he only had crackers and water and put so much stress on his body, he had kidney failure. He was peeing blood in the chair. I'm watching this. So my reaction is, man, we got to get this guy a medic immediately. Like, airlift this guy out of this race immediately. Mr. Race Director, what are you doing? What does he do? He takes duct tape. He duct tapes his feet, picks himself out of the chair, runs another 30 miles to get to his goal, and then runs 1 more in case they miscounted. I got to meet this guy. I got to meet this guy. I got to meet this guy because whatever makes a guy like this tick, whatever the drive is that got him to get out of this chair and run to get to his goal, if that could be taught, if I could learn that, if I could teach that to my employees, to my kids, to me, then all the buckets in my life would be better. I'd be better at work. I'd be a better husband, a better dad. I'd be personally better. So I Googled him. And I learned he was a Navy SEAL with an amazing backstory. 2 minutes on him. He grew up in Brazil, Indiana, one of 10 black families out of 10,000 families, 20 miles from where the Klan was headquartered. So he had a very, very, as you can imagine, tough childhood. He got picked on and ridiculed and bullied, and he lost all of his self-esteem. So he ballooned up to 300 pounds because he had no self-esteem. Decides to join the military, drops out. Becomes an exterminator. And one day he's looking at his reflection in the mirror, and he hates what he's become, But more importantly, he's sick and tired of blaming, pointing the finger at everybody else for his life, for his mother for moving them to Brazil, Indiana, for the teachers for not intervening when the kids were beating him up, for the kids that bullied him, the parents of the kids that allowed it. He's sick of making all the excuses on everybody else and said the only one that's going to change this guy in the mirror is us, you, him. So he decides he's going to become a Navy SEAL. He goes to the recruiter's office, and they say, sir, because you have prior military experience and because of your age, you're about to turn 24, you have 60 days to report to BUD/S, SEAL Training Camp. So in 60 days, he loses 100 pounds. He breaks into the local Y through a window, teaches himself how to swim, goes through the SEAL program, becomes a SEAL, loses 6 friends in a helicopter crash, and decides his own version of a brownie. He's going to raise money for the children of the fallen soldiers, and he Googles the 10 hardest things in the world to do, and he becomes the best endurance athlete on the planet from this 300-pound guy. He sets the Guinness Book of World Records for most pull-ups in a day. He does 4,030 pull-ups in 17 hours. He goes from this guy that you see over here, that I saw at the race, that ate the crackers, to that guy. I got to meet him. I got to meet him. So I cold call him. Again, that's the theme in my life. I cold call him. I confuse him. He says, I'll give you 15 minutes if you come tomorrow. I'm in San Diego. I'm in New York. I get on a plane. I fly to San Diego. I really don't have any agenda other than trying to figure out what makes this guy tick. And we sit down at lunch, and we're sitting there for about 5 minutes, and I realize I'm never going to get the secret sauce, whatever got him out of the chair, the one thing we all want, in a 15-minute lunch meeting. And out of nowhere, I said to him, would you come live with me for a month, with me and my family? He says to me, if you're crazy enough to ask a guy like me to come live with you, motherfucker, I'm crazy enough to come. 3 days later, he's at my breakfast table. So I call my wife. She's like, oh, how'd the meeting go, sweetie? I'm like, it was great. He's coming to live with us. She's like, you met him on a bus? I'm like, no, he's coming to live with us. You're part of us, and he's coming on Friday. Now, at this point in my life, I was at a great place, still am. Married, still am. I had 1 child, I had a son. Now I have 4 kids. But like many of us, I would say probably all of us in this room, I was in a routine. And my routine was get up, work out, go to work all day, dinner with my family, a little alone time with my wife and my kids, repeat. And I thought it was great. I was operating at a high level, I thought, but I was in a routine. And routines can be a rut. You can't get better when you're doing the same shit every day. That's comfortable. That's staying where you are. And I was here. Just sold my company, ran 100 miles. I was here. But I was staying there. I was stuck there. I couldn't get out of here. So our rule was, when I met him, he said, look, you got to do everything I tell you to do, otherwise I'm leaving. And that was it. I said, okay. So 3 days later, he comes in. Now, the first thing I noticed, he's got a little Huck Finn knapsack. And I'm like, if I'm going away for 30 days to New York City in the middle of the winter, I'm checking 3 bags. What the hell does he have in this bag? Simplicity. We'll come back to that in a second. So he comes in. I call him Seal. He comes in. And I said, Seal, man, make yourself at home. My home is your home. He said, nah, I don't have a home. I said, no. Make yourself at home. That's an expression. And he walks right up to my nose to nose, nose to nose. And he said, I don't operate in expressions. It's going to be a wonderful 30 days. He said, in fact, get your stuff. We're going to the gym. I want to see where you're at physically so I can map out the rest of the year, the rest of the month. I said, okay. So I get my stuff on. He goes, all right, let's go up to the pull-up bar. I want to see how many pull-ups you can do. Now, I can run forever. on a straight line or a circle, but I'm not really that strong. So I get up to the pull-up bar. I get maybe like 8 pull-ups. I drop down. I'm grabbing my arms. I'm like, woo. He says, all right, wait 30 seconds and do it again. So I wait 30 seconds. I get up to the pull-up bar. I get maybe like 4 or 5. I drop down. I'm holding my arms. He says, wait 30 seconds and do it again. So I wait 30 seconds. I get back on the bar, kicking my legs to get my damn chin over this thing. Everybody's looking at me. I get like 1 or 2. I'm done. I drop down. I said, all right, well, what's next? He said, well, what's next is we're not leaving here until you do 100 more. Now, maybe in SEAL land that's possible. But I said to him, I can't do 100 pull-ups. He said, Jesse, I already know what your biggest problem is, what our biggest problem is. The limitations that we, you, me, us, are putting on ourselves are self-imposed. The limitations that we're putting on ourselves, what we think we're capable of, they're self-imposed. I'm going to prove it to you right now. Man, get back up on that bar and give me a pull-up. So I get back up on the bar. I get a pull-up. I drop down. He said, all right, now wait. When you're ready, give me another pull-up. I get another pull-up, drop, pull-up, drop, pull-up, drop for 2 hours, and I got my 100. And I said to myself right then, I said, oh, my God. If I'm under-indexing by 100 pull-ups, if I'm under-indexing by 100 pull-ups, if I'm leaving that much on the table in a workout, what other areas of my life am I under-indexing in? Like if my quota at Marquee Jet is 20 jet cards, if I say, hey, fellas, this month, Jesse, put me on the board. Put me down for 20 cards, which I do. Is that because it's comfortable and I know I can get 20? Or should I say, man, guys, put me down for 40. I'm double you guys this month. 40. Where are the limitations? Where am I really trying to go? Where am I setting my bar? Self-imposed limitations. So he had a rule called the 40% rule. And the 40% rule is when your brain says you're done, you still have 40% more in the tank. I'm not even talking about physical stuff. Physical, emotional, work, money, wherever. When your brain tells you you're done, you got 40% more in the tank. Because it's a scientific fact. The way our brains are wired, it's a defense mechanism. The first time we experience pain or discomfort, humiliation, calling the girl in college, our brain sends a little signal down to our shoulder and taps us on the shoulder and says, stop. What are you doing? I don't want you to get hurt. That's how we protect ourselves. When you ignore the tap on the shoulder, the limit you think you can go to, that is where all the GOLD lies. That is the difference between good and great. Ignoring the tap on the shoulder. So let me give you guys an example so you don't think that I'm crazy. And you think that this is all little Navy SEAL bullshit. Every year in this country, 600,000 people put their hand up and say they want to run a marathon. 600,000 people line up at the starting line to run 26.2 miles, the greatest distance you can run outside of an ultra marathon in one shot, 26.2 miles. Of the 600,000 people that try to run this great distance, what percent do you think finish? Anybody? 60? 60? 60? Good guess. 10%? Good guess. 30%? Good guess. 20? Another good guess. But here's the answer. 5% is actually a good guess, except the answer, if we were doing the inverse, because the answer is 98%. 98% of the people that start a marathon in this country finish. And I will bet you guys every single cent of stock that I have in the Atlanta Hawks, that almost every single one of those racers experiences what's called hitting the wall. Hitting the wall happens around mile 18. We have any marathon runners here? You know what hitting the wall? You've run a marathon, Rita? So you've heard the term. Hitting the wall is a term that happens to marathoners around mile 18 when your brain says, stop. Man, what the hell are you doing? Your feet are swollen. You're tired. You're hungry. You've been out here for 3 or 4 hours. You still got another hour and a half left. You're going to get hurt. Stop. Why do 98% finish? Because they ignore the tap on the shoulder Because the goal that they have to get that medal around their neck, to get that feeling of success is greater than that little bit of discomfort, that extra call, that extra that you have to do to separate yourself and be a brownie. So he had a saying, every day we had to do something that sucked. We had to be comfortable getting uncomfortable. Every day we had to do something that sucked. And at first I didn't understand it. And he put me through this series of really unorthodox training things. I did not get it. One day we're sitting at my home in Connecticut. I lived on a lake in the winter. And I'm watching TV with them, and across the ticker comes a little thing from the National Emergency Broadcast System. Don't go outside. Wind and temperature and a blizzard is coming through. Stay inside is exactly what he said. He's like, this is amazing. We got to go run. I'm like, they're telling us not to do that. That's exactly what they're telling us not to do. He's celebrating like he just won the Super Bowl. It's like, it's fucking blizzard. So we get our clothes on, we run 10 miles, and when we come back, kids are playing hockey on the lake. They move all the snow. He goes down to check them out, so I thought. He grabs a boulder. He starts banging on the ice, breaks a little hole in the ice, goes like this with his hands, jumps in, goes like this. I'm not going in. No way am I going in. I remember as a kid in Long Island, my mother telling me every single winter, sweetie, if you go outside, don't go anywhere near thin ice. If you fall in, you can't get out. Don't go anywhere near thin ice. He's bathing in it, like with a rubber ducky, splashing himself. So I take my clothes off, jump in the thing. It is beyond freezing, beyond freezing. I got to get out. I got to get out. I got to get out. And I go to get out. So you can't get out. If your skin touches the ice, you're going to stick to the ice like the kid in Christmas Story with his tongue. So I put my hands in my shoes. I bear crawl out. And he goes, we got to go up and get inside because in 5 minutes, under 5 minutes, you're going to get hypothermia. I don't even know what hypothermia is. I don't want it. So I start going up. I'm running up. I live on this 80-yard hill to get up to my house. Snow everywhere. My skin is bright red. I'm freezing. I'm running up the hill. And as I'm running up the hill, I see my wife looking out the window. I would much rather deal with this. Where'd he go? That guy that was on the screen than deal with my wife. There he is. Rather deal with him than deal with my wife. So we come into the house, and she says, Seal, what's the medical benefit? She's so pissed. What's the medical benefit of jumping into a frozen lake? He said, there's no medical benefit. There's a mental benefit. And this is what your husband signed up for. And what I call it X-ray vision. The ability to see through obstacles to get to your goal. He calls it mental toughness, grit, resilience, persistence. Now, mental toughness, or what I call X-ray vision, is a lot different than motivation. A lot different than motivation. We hear the word motivation all the time. Because if I said right now, everybody in here, everybody, we're all going to run a half marathon in 5 days. All of us. And Tony Robbins comes up on stage and gets us motivated. And Ken puts in Rocky, and we get motivated. And the DJ plays Eminem, and we get motivated. And we all going, yeah, and we're getting fired up. I said, yeah, we're going to start tomorrow at 5 a.m. And everyone's hugging each other. This athletic table over here, they're going nuts. We're hugging each other. We're going to start at 5 a.m. We put our hands in. We're motivated. Yes, 5 a.m. We leave. 5 a.m. comes. It's dark. Maybe it's cold, not in Arizona, but where I live, it might be cold. It's dark. The Today Show's on. We had a couple of cocktails the night before. Our bed is comfortable. It's hard to get motivated at 5 in the morning. And maybe you do it one day. But again and again, you're going to call again. You want to sell a property, you're going to do it. You're going to go out there again. You're going to get rejected. You're going to go do it again and again. That is the X-ray vision. It's seeing through your broken bones. It's seeing through the lake to get to your goal. Those are just obstacles. You have to train your brain by doing things that make you uncomfortable consistently to build this mindset that when things are hard, which they will be, we don't shy away. We don't quit. We attack. We attack. Now, I think everybody in here is born with a little bit of X-ray vision. They have their own mental toughness. On a mental toughness meter of 0 to 10, him being a 10, maybe I'm a 5 or a 4, maybe you're a 6. I have no idea. Whatever your baseline is, when you do things that stink every day, they might be making extra calls, they might be staying late at work, whatever it is, little things, you take your baseline from a 5 and you can make it a 6 or a 7. And once it goes up, it never goes back down. When I started running, my goal was to run 2 miles. 2 miles. I bet everybody in this room can run 2 miles. That was my goal. I worked my way up to 2 miles. I said, if I can run 2 miles in 18 minutes, 9-minute pace, I'm a runner. Everybody in this room can do that. Nothing physically changed on my body over the last couple of years. These are the same legs that God gave me. I'm not very strong. The same lungs. Don't take any medicine, vitamins. Everything that God gave me is the same as when I could run 2 miles. What I thought was my goal. I took the 2-mile body and transformed into a 100-mile mind. So I took the same body and ran 100 miles with my X-ray vision. Because I saw a goal, and everything else was obstacles. That was the movie in my head. I got to get to the finish line. Now I got to finish the rest. I got to sell. I got an idea for a jet company. The rest is obstacles, man. I'm seeing through all those walls. I'm getting to where I want to go. So now, obviously, everybody here isn't going to hire a Navy SEAL to make them do things that make them uncomfortable. But there's an old saying, how you do anything is how you do everything. How you do anything is how you do everything. So the other day, I was watering the garden at my house. With my son was playing, I'm doing the gardening, and my wife told me the dinner's ready. I got my kids, I threw the hose down. I'm coming in. I said, I'll take care of that tomorrow. Tomorrow? How you do anything is how you do everything. Now, that might seem insignificant. I'll take care of that tomorrow. No, that's an indication of what I don't want to become. So I went back. I put the hose back. And then I went in. And I had my dinner. About 3 months ago, I went and I climbed Mount Washington. I didn't even know where Mount Washington was. Turns out it's in New Hampshire. I didn't know anything about it. I don't hike mountains. My friend said it's 4.5 miles and it's cold. We're going to have a great day. I said, all right, I'll come. Turns out Mount Washington is one of the 10 most dangerous mountains to climb. It is the #1 incident of death, mountain climbers dying in this country. It's minus 35 degrees with winds that go up to 70 to 100 miles per hour. There's zero visibility, minus 35 degrees. So we go up, get my friends, get all my gear, and we climb up the mountain, and we get about maybe a quarter of a mile away from the summit, the top, and we have to go back down because it's too dangerous. People walk off the mountain. You can't see 2 feet in front of you. I was freaked out. I'm like, guys, we're going to time out. It's getting dark. We're past the cutoff time that we gave ourselves. We got to go back down. So we go back down, and I'm bummed out. I fly back home to Atlanta, where I live. I'm sitting in bed, disappointed. Feel like I let my friends down. We didn't do it. And I said to my wife, you know, I really want to go back. I want to go back to Mount Washington. I don't like having this on my record. And she said to me, well, plan it out for next year where you can get a tour guide, get a guide that can help you navigate this, train for it, and go on a weekend where you guys can really prepare and conquer it. I said, next winter? I'm going back on Saturday. She goes, Saturday? I go, next winter? I have no idea what next winter is going to bring. There's no guarantee I'm going to be here next winter. What if something happens to me? My legs not going with it next winter. I'm going back on Saturday. I have 38% of my life left. The average American lives to be 78 years old. I'm 48. That means I got 38% of my life left. What do you have left? We sleep a third of them. A third of the time, basically, we sleep. So I basically have less than 30% of my life left to live on earth. Well, man, who do I want to spend that time? What do I want to accomplish? And what do I want to do? So the Navy SEAL comes into my life. Did it work? Did he change my self-imposed limitations? Did I get that vision to the goal? Well, when he came in, I could do 22 push-ups. When he left, I was doing 1,000 a day. Self-imposed limitations. He knocked 1 minute off of my time per mile, my mile time. He knocked 1 minute off that time in 30 days. It's impossible. I've been running my whole life. But did he do that? Or self-imposed limitations? And even stuff with my kids, like when my son would, I have 2 little boys, I have 4 kids, but 2 twins. When they'd be fighting over a toy, maybe before Seal came, I'd be like, what are you guys doing? My patience would wear out. But now I'm like, I jumped in a frozen lake. Do you think 2 kids fighting over a Lego train are gonna get under my skin? No. Everything changed. Everything changed just by the way that I approach stuff. So I wrote a book, Living with the Seal. If you guys want a free copy of it, you can go to Jesse Itzler. Ken can send it to you, but jesseitzler.com/free book. JESSEITZER.com/free book. I will send you guys a book. I think the way they have it hooked up, you pay like a couple of dollars in shipping, but whatever. We'll send you guys a free book. I highly recommend it. But if you don't read the book or get it, I want to give you a couple of takeaways, and then I'll open it up for questions and answers. You guys will go have some cocktails. So first of all, when Seal came into my life, everybody said to me, I have a lot of stuff that I want to do, but I don't have the time. I could never do something like this. It drives me berserk. So I drew a very simple pie chart. It's a great exercise. I call this the 3-hour rule. I drew a very simple pie chart. I said, okay, there's 24 hours in a day. I sleep 7 of them. Last night I slept 2. But I need 7 to function at my peak. So that leaves 17 hours in a day. I take 3 of those hours, 3-hour rule, for me. 3 hours for me. And those are cumulative. And that could be go for a run, sit on a couch, go in my sauna, read a magazine, do nothing. But when I'm in my time, and I might get 45 here, an hour here, 20 minutes here, when I'm in my time, I'm not feeling guilty that I'm not with my kids. I'm not at work. I don't feel guilty that I'm not with my wife. She knows I'm in my time. Because I don't want to resent my wife, my boss, my friends, anybody for taking away the one thing that I have, my time, to do what I want to do. So I take 3 hours for myself. The average American works a 40-hour work week. So that's 8 hours a day. 7 for sleep, 3 for me, 8 hours a day. Guess what? You still have 6 hours left in the day. Now, obviously, you have to eat, commute. You have your family, friends, responsibility. But my point is, when you start saying no to all the stuff that comes at you that is nothing to do with getting to where you want to be with your X-ray vision, you can accomplish a hell of a lot. I just got back from a monastery. One of my big takeaways there is that in a monastery, all the decisions are taken away from you. You eat whatever they give you. There's no menu. You eat whatever they give you, when they give it to you. You meditate and pray when they tell you. You work when they tell you to work. You wear one outfit. I took 1 shower in 2 weeks. You do whatever they tell you to do. You make no decisions. When you make no decisions, it frees up an insane amount of energy. Like the monks were 75 going on 20. I had the most amount of I was bouncing off the wall and it made me realize, we all have a limited amount of energy. At the end of the day, if you use up your energy, you're going to sleep. Period. It might happen at 6 o'clock, 8 o'clock, 10 o'clock, but when you use your energy, you're going to bed. I realized I use so much energy on decisions that mean nothing. Pay attention to the decisions and the things that come at you that mean nothing. When you eliminate it, you free up time. The second thing is, we didn't celebrate victories when Seal was there. We checked the box and move on. If I wasn't asked to speak today and the introduction brought up it's a business seminar, Marquis Jet, that's great. It put a little bit more brown rice on my plate, but that's in the past. I never think about it. Zeke, I never think about it, ever. I check the box, celebrate it, and move on. It's what's next. What's the next thing I can do with the 38% of my life that's left. What can I do in that amount of time? What do I want to accomplish, and what am I going to do? So I think it's really important to celebrate things and just move on. And the third thing is, when the rappers came to my house for dinner, that was a bucket list item. And bucket lists are amazing. But I'm a big believer in dropping the B and adding an F and having a fuck it list. Because that list are the things that you always wanted to do, the things you dreamt about doing, the apparel company that you wanted to open, the restaurant that you wanted to open, the race that you wanted to run, Rita, wherever you are. Those are the things that require preparation, maybe failure, hard work, but I guarantee you those are the things that will be the most memorable and make you feel the most alive. Chris Clothier's in for a really big treat tomorrow, win, lose, or draw, because he's creating a memory. If I asked you, sir, what you did in August of 2015, January 2012, May 2008, you have no idea. We just go through life flipping the pages. You want to create memories, man. Chris Clothier, I give him a ton of credit. He's doing something tomorrow to create a memory that no one can take away from him, regardless of the outcome. All the work's already done, regardless of the outcome. And that is what I think it's all about. So I'm going to leave you guys with this quote. I'll open it up for questions and answers. This sits on a little plaque on my wall. I think it applies to all you guys because you wouldn't be here today. We didn't come this far to only come this far. Nobody in this room is here today because they came this far to stop. We're all here to get a little nugget and get better at whatever it is we want to do. We didn't come this far to only come this far. Put together your effort list. All right? Build your life resume. Build your life resume. Go out and do the stuff today, right now. Calculate how much time you have left on this planet. And go fucking do something. Questions? Got myself all fired up.